Regulation 31 deals with public question time. Public question time is a key way that your community can interact with council and council decision making. The chairperson at an ordinary council meeting must ensure that there is at least 15 minutes made available so that members of the public can ask questions about council activities. Questions can either be in writing 7 days before or asked without notice at the meeting. However, a chairperson can refuse to accept a question without notice or require the question to be in writing. Importantly, neither a member of the public's question nor the answer provided is to be debated. Generally, council meetings should be open to the public, but Regulation 15 outlines the limited number of reasons that a meeting may be closed to the public. These include when council is discussing confidential commercial information, such as that relating to a tendering process, and where details may give a person an advantage or disadvantage. They also may close the meeting to discuss confidential personnel information, for example, where there are complaints against a council employee, and legal matters, particularly where there is litigation involving the council. In addition to the general public, the general manager can be excluded from a closed council meeting if the council is discussing the general manager's contract or performance. The grounds for closing a meeting are to be recorded in the council meeting minutes with a brief description of the matter discussed. And while it's important not to put too much detail so as to disclose the confidential nature of the discussion, it's not sufficient to say the meeting was closed for a matter as per Regulation 15F. While the meeting is closed, the council should consider whether any discussions, decisions, reports or documents relating to that closed meeting are to be kept confidential or whether they could be released to the public, taking into account privacy and confidentiality issues. Ensuring that decisions made in closed council meetings about what information should be released will assist in transparency with the community and a lack of confusion and possible breaches of the Local Government Act for disclosing information. The Local Government Division in State Government recently undertook an audit of closed council meeting minutes and have since provided advice to councils about the compliance with the regulations. Regulation 32 deals with the minutes of council meetings. LGAT has recently produced a guide to minute taking and it is available on our website. The accuracy of minutes is important and councils with audio recordings do tend to have less issues with conflicts over minutes. Regulation 32 and 35 discuss the minutes of open meetings. Ultimately, the General Manager is responsible for recording and keeping minutes, and the General Manager is to ensure copies of minutes are kept as council records and are available to all councillors as well as for public inspection or purchase. Minutes are to be circulated to all councillors as soon as is practical after the meeting, but at least at the next ordinary council meeting or council committee meeting. At the next ordinary meeting or council committee meeting, the minutes are to be corrected and confirmed as a true and accurate record by resolution of the meeting and by signature of the chairperson. The General Manager is to ensure that the minutes of each meeting record the attendance of the councillors and any absence during the meeting, including the time of leaving and returning, matters discussed at the meeting, motions moved at the meeting, decisions of the meeting and where required by the Act, whether or not the decision was by absolute majority, a summary of any address, statement or report made under Regulation 30, any question on notice asked by a councillor as well as the answer, any question asked without notice by a member of the public and a summary of the answer, and questions put in writing during public question time and at least a summary of the answer. One of the key functions of the Mayor under the Local Government Act is to chair council meetings, although any councillor may take the role of chairperson in relation to a council committee. You might like to look at our separate presentation around chairing meetings, but the key roles for the chairperson in relation to ordinary council meetings are to maintain order and follow the agenda, to appropriately put the motions to vote and announce the vote, to ask about potential pecuniary interests, to ensure there is no debate until the motion has been moved and seconded, and to consider procedural motions before anything else and accept or reject them, and if rejecting, give the reasons why. Let's go into the chairperson's role a little further. There are specific powers littered throughout the regulations. For example, Regulation 8 allows for the chairperson to request councillors to indicate whether they have or are likely to have a pecuniary interest in any item on the agenda. Councillors should have identified potential conflicts earlier and be ready to respond to this. Under Regulation 13, a chairperson may adjourn a meeting to a later date or later that day. The basis must be for a proper purpose, it must be reasonable to do so in the circumstances, and the decision must be made in good faith. Regulation 16 allows the chairperson to decide whether a motion without notice must be provided in writing. The chairperson may also refuse a motion without notice if, in their opinion, it is defamatory, contains offensive language or is unlawful. Regulation 19 allows for the discussion of a resolved matter. It allows the chairperson to open up a matter that has previously been decided to be discussed again if, in their opinion, the vote did not accurately reflect the opinion being held by the meeting due to a misunderstanding of the motion or for some other reason, or if new information comes to hand, or if, in the opinion of the chairperson, some vital information has been overlooked. Regulation 20 allows a chairperson to consider any procedural motion in precedence over all other business and accept or reject that motion. If a chairperson accepts the procedural motion, no discussion is allowed on the matter and the procedural motion is put to the vote. If the chairperson rejects the procedural motion, they must give reasons for that rejection. Regulation 23 deals with point of order. A chairperson must deal with a point of order as soon as it is raised and before the meeting resumes to deal with other business. A chairperson's ruling on a point of order is not to be questioned and is binding. Regulation 24 allows the chairperson to permit a councillor to explain a matter of personal nature in the absence of a motion on the matter, if, in their opinion, it is in the interest of the councillor and the councillor to do so. Regulation 25 allows the chairperson to declare the council as acting as a planning authority. A chairperson can also exclude members of the public from closed meetings. In addition to their roles set down in the regulations, it is important that the chairperson is fair, listens to the debate and maintains order. The General Manager of the Council is also critical when it comes to council meetings. The General Manager must advise councillors and provide expert advice with the agenda which they prepare. They must provide reports to Council and give notice of the time and place of council meetings. They are available to provide further advice during meetings if asked to do so, and they have the responsibility of ensuring that the minutes are accurate. The General Manager also calls the first meeting after elections and calls a meeting if the Mayor fails to do so at least once a month. As indicated at the start of this presentation, A knowledge of the meeting procedures regulations is important because council meetings are the key place in which decisions are made by council that impact on communities. As a consequence, the role of councillors at council meetings is very important. You must, as a councillor, be accountable to your community and show respect for the chairperson, staff and fellow councillors as you follow the rules of debate and the procedural aspects of the meeting regulations, and be mindful of provisions in your code of conduct. It is incumbent on councillors to be well prepared for meetings and workshops, to have read the agenda and be prepared to listen and debate.